Oh, it's golden. Welcome to Thomas Goes Nowhere. This is its inaugural show, and my daughter Jennifer and I drove up from Calgary on Friday, 200 miles up Highway 2, and with the help of Chris Jackson set up at the Great Edmonton Train show. And I'm just going to take you on a quick tour around the layout here before the show starts here on Sunday morning. Behind the scenes, the fiddle yard is the most important part. Its staging area is for 6 trains on the bottom and 4 on the top. To change a track, all you do is press a button, the points change, and a new train comes out. This is so that my daughters, who aren't very technically minded, can run trains with no problem. The back scene is on white plastic with the back scene glued on it, and the curves make an interesting viewpoint all the way round. So instead of getting corners, the back scene just flows around the layout. To start the tour, we're going to come out of the bridge. We're starting at the bridge there that goes in and out of the fiddle yard. The trains come out of the fiddle yard and into the station. The station's called Middle of Nowhere because people keep asking me where is the layout set, and the answer is nowhere. So I decided to call the station Middle of Nowhere. All the buildings on the layout are made of paper. From various manufacturers. They have Metcalfe scale scenes, scale model scenery. The corner shop is a Metcalfe. It's a bakery, and it should have walls at 90 degrees, but I modified the kit a little bit and set the angle at a different angle so that it follows the road and it looks quite presentable. Many of the buildings on the layout have a population, as you can see here. The garage is the mechanic working on the car, while someone else is putting petrol into the pickup truck, and the signalman is watching the trains, ready to switch the signals. Come around the corner, there's another school boy memory of mine of the lollipop lady on a zebra crossing. So I thought this would be a jerker from many of the other expats over here that have memories. The school's an old builder's plus, but having done so many of these other kits with interiors, and the windows were so big that I decided to do an interior on it. So there's a teacher marking the textbooks, there's a fish in the window, flowers, and school children playing in the school thing, in this playground. We added some pictures so that people can see the inside, because you couldn't see the writing on the school board. And having been stupid enough to go to the trouble of doing all that detail, I also added it into the terraced houses next to it. So I added pictures. All of the figures and scenes can be seen through the windows. The windows rotate through a lighting sequence, but as you can see, you can actually see if you look in, but they're pretty hard to see. When you look down the side of the layout from the front, there's quite a nice view looking down the road past the station into the trees at the end. So that was quite, I'm quite happy about that. On the front, the trains come out of the tunnel. There's only about 4 feet that you can actually see them. This is still a work in progress, as you can tell. The ballast in Ilston still needs to be done, and there's some buildings that in there where the bank is. I'm planning on building something else. One of the main features on the front of the layout is this row of terraced houses, which is scratch built from various manufacturers' kits. And what I wanted was a long row of terraced houses with a sloping roof, with shops in, which you can see. This caused quite some discussion amongst our group, because there's a number of people who are from the south of England, and they were saying it should be stepped, while the north people said, yeah, that's the type of house I lived in. In here's a couple of features. The Cartwrights are moving out today. They're going somewhere else. And the Ramsbottoms have just rented a TV, so Joe Green's on the roof putting up the aerial. To finish off Church Street, there's some old super quick kits of Tudor buildings, which I'm saying is there's a photographer there, and the rest of the other buildings of the vicarage. To fill in a space between the two baseboards, I built an allotment, and to round off the whole side, there's the pub and the corner shop, which finishes everything off nicely. The left side, the plan was always to build a canal, and I finally, when I set it all up, I had room for 3 locks. So the bottom lock is designed to show the boat coming out, and then just behind that there's a holiday barge sort of boat, and the crew is in the garden of the Lockgate pub having lunch. There's a fisherman fishing, as you usually see, and then the middle lock is the barge that's in the process of going up or down in front of the church, and in the back Mrs. Hepplewhite is unfortunately being buried today. So that was another scene. As we continue on up the canal, the top lock has the boat coming in, so what you get is a flow of the lock at the top, the boat's entering, then we have a boat that's in the process of changing level, and at the bottom it's coming out of the lock gates to continue its process. To close off the end of the lock, I built this canal bridge, which is the typical one where the horse can go up one side over the bridge and down the other side. And in the corner there's a farm where Molly's on her way to the barn to milk the cows, and her mum's feeding the chicken while the farmer and his dog's rounding up the cows to put them into the barn for milking. Although on the sides of the layout there is no scenery, there's just a tunnel. You often get the kids standing there and they're looking into the fiddle yard through the tunnel, and it's quite funny because sometimes they're screaming out one name and the mother is saying something totally different. On the bottom, the trains can be seen in the front, and in this finished part you can see when you put a black back scene there, you can't see anything else. It looks quite presentable. So this is the Toby John my brother sent me as a brass kit. I had a friend Martin Dawes make him up for me, added a face and some numbers and turned into Toby. So now Toby's going to leave, and we have a Toby. The Hornby Toby is way too big to go through these bridges and tunnels, so I had to
That's what, J70 or something?
These are the newest edition. I actually broke down and bought some Bachman Bill and Ben. That was filling out my roster. So by now the question could be is why is he running Thomas the Tank Engine trains on this layout? And there's 2 answers to that question. The first is that my daughters Jennifer and Nicole both love to run the trains with me, and they help me. Nicole, when she was 16, she asked if she could run have her Thomas trains in with the adults, and I said, well, we had to build an adult layout. So this is Thomas the Tank Engine Goes Nowhere Mark II. And the other reason is that myself and all my friends really enjoy the smiles that you get on the little kids' faces when they come and see the Thomas and they're screaming out the names, and we get a lot of fun out of that, and that's another aspect to the hobby. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed my tour, and I look forward to any feedback. Thank you.
One was the middle of nowhere, it's not with Tasker.